I'm just coming up on the last final mods for this car before it's completely where I want it in terms of suspension. We've already got the FDF angle kit installed in the last video. Make sure you go watch that. Got BC Racing Coilovers, which we're installing today, as well as some Z1 rear control arms, and I've got some ISR rear toe arms coming tomorrow. Now, for those of you that don't know, stock Z rear suspension has a bucket style. The spring right here is separate from the shock, as opposed to the front, which is just a regular shock and spring, you know, combined coil over the shock. But these another box. Whew. These now have the spring inside the strut. However, in order to install these, we would need to get rid of the bucket, obviously, which is what the toe arm does, and that comes tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to be doing the rear. For today, we're just going to do the front struts. First, you're going to want to remove the 3 nuts that hold in the strut from the top. Next, if you got some brake lines to undo, it's just right there and right here. This one's just simple, you just pop it right off like that. And obviously just a little nut right there. Now, your suspension is probably going to look different from mine. I have an angle kit on, and this looks very different from stock arms, but basically the strut's still going to line up around the same spot. Get your 17 wrench, 17 socket on the other side, and just loosen that up right there. Then I usually keep track of my hardware just by putting it back together like this. Now, to install your new coilover is basically the exact same thing, but in reverse order. So now we just feed it back through at the top, put these 2 at the bottom. This one was actually a lot easier to put in than the other one was to take out because the strut is shorter. With a smaller strut, it's easier to just kind of feed it up through here and put that nut in there to hold it in place, and then you can put all the rest in and then bolt it in at the bottom. Pop it right on the screw. I think it's right here. And I didn't actually realize until after I put it on, but BC Coilovers actually gives you these own new nuts to fit on these, so you don't have to use these ones. So when you're installing your new ones, just make sure to take off the nuts and use those. Now, as I said before, these are shorter than my previous struts, so it doesn't quite line up with this. Now what you can do is jack up the hub just a little bit, just to get a little bit more suspension travel, so that you can connect these 2 together. Now we've got this lined up here, all we gotta do now is just put the bolt and the nut back in. Now that bolt's in, you can just let the jack down and tighten it up. Usually I get it on there snug right now, and I'll give the torque specs later in the video. Now all that's left is to reconnect the brake lines with your new BC Racing nut, just like so. It's nice and snug. Now actually I made a little mistake, so I'm going to show you so you guys don't make the same mistake as me. I put the brake line on the other side of the strut that it's supposed to be on. So when you're putting it on, make sure that this brake line is on the right side if you're doing the right strut, on this side of the coilover, so you can actually mount it to these mounting spots here. All right, so I detached it from the bottom, and now I moved the brake line in front of it, so you can see now what I mean. It's got these specific spots where it wants to mount. Right there, and right in here too. The bottom nut and bolt is supposed to be torqued to 85, whereas the top 3 nuts are supposed to be torqued to 42 foot-pounds. And with that, the front is done. Just gonna copy that on the other side and do the rear tomorrow when the toe arms come in. All right, I've got the driver's side in now, and actually before I move to the rear, I should probably mention the adjustability of these coilovers. So the big reason these are so expensive is because they have so much adjustability. So I think there's like 40-something ways you can adjust the stiffness here, which a good way that I've been told is to just max it out at stiff first. So turning it right to stiffen it and left to soften it. So that's right there. And then to go 7 clicks back for kind of a decent road feel, but still have some response through the road. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'll figure out my ride height once it's on the ground. I definitely know it will be a lot lower than before. I mean, I was kind of monster trucking before, but it's fine. And once everything's torqued, put the wheels on, see how the fitment is, and then readjust from there. All right, we've got the first reaction now. The coilovers are on. We're gonna see how this thing looks. Pretty much out the box, no real height adjustment, just a little bit of stiffening. All right, definitely gonna need to make some height adjustment. I am monster trucking right now. Just gonna lower this some more and then off to the rear. All right, so I'm in the middle of adjusting the left side right now. What I've done is I've loosened up this bottom one. You just spin this to the right with the smaller spanner wrench that they give you. And then with the larger one, if you wanna lower your car, you spin this bigger top one to the left, and then that will rotate the shock to the left and lower it. So the way I'm measuring this out, I'm using this digital caliper, and I've measured the amount that I loaded on the other side by measuring the amount of threads left here. So I've kind of adjusted the collar on the bottom to match up close to this. And then I'm just gonna keep on threading this down. Eventually this is gonna go to the bottom. I'm just gonna tighten that down and have an even ride height. Then I'm gonna throw the wheel on, see how it all looks, and see if I need to adjust it any further. And it's just kind of a rinse and repeat until you get what you like. All right, take two. Hopefully it won't look like a monster truck. Still monster trucking a little bit. Okay, so something to keep in mind with these fenders is normally the stock fenders are gonna go down a lot lower. These just kind of go out, you know? What I'm worried about, if going really low, is my caster nut here. Or not my caster, my, I forget, I think it's camber. Anyway, what I'm worried about is suspension travel and that hitting that, because that is right there. Probably just gonna pack everything up and then do the rear tomorrow. All right, it's the next day and the tow arms finally came in, so that means we have everything ready for the full rear conversion swap. Rat and Ivan are here too. They're gonna help me because I scheduled an alignment for tomorrow morning at 9. So this needs to be done. I barely got off work. It's like 6 p.m. now. So we gotta get everything done. All right, this is me from the future. Before you take all this stuff off like I did, crack your caliper bolts because you're gonna need to take your brake rotor off. I didn't realize this until right now. So you're gonna need to take your brake caliper off and your brake rotor because the bolt for one of these arms will go straight into it. So you need to have that free space. I have all this up and down movement because I took the strut out. So crack your caliper bolts first, then it'll make it easier to take all this stuff off because right now I'm fighting myself. All right, with the wheel off, all it is just this 17 bolt, and then those look like either 12 or 14s up there, and then this whole strut comes down. Then for all the arms, it's basically all the 17s here and here. And if I learned anything from installing the front, it's crack everything first and then remove everything, so you're not fighting this wiggling around. Now we've got the bolt getter, nut getter.
What?
Wait. Where's my ratchet? This actually works really well. It's like the perfect length.
It's a little big.
Oop, nuts dropped. That's funny. Whoa. I punched my knuckle. I should just put it back in like this, huh?
Yeah.
Now before you install your strut, if you want to install these extenders, it's super easy. Here's how you do it. They come with this tiny little Allen key. You just undo this little locking screw here, and it literally just pops right on like that, and you just tighten it down. And that is not going anywhere. And then you can adjust your dampening all from inside your trunk, which you clear up by taking off these plastic covers. You literally just pull it and it comes out. So this is how you know I'm a VQ owner. I got this in the trunk. And to install it through is super easy. You just get this to feed up through here. Although, if you're like me, this one didn't really fit. So I kind of, I did something to the hole. No, but I just got this little pipe thing stuck in there, kind of worked it around a little bit, and then now this fits through there. I guess you could like put this cover back on and drill a hole in it, but this is a drip car, so who cares? Then all you have to do is stick this right up into this hole right up here. Oh. Anyways, I don't know what kind of, are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think this is the last one for the subframe. I think all the other arms are already disconnected. So we got this one right here. I think this is the traction arm. This I think is camber. And then this is the bucket, which is replaced with the tow arm. Working on cars has taught me anything is I don't know my lefts and rights. But I think the sway bar is blocking the bolt coming out for the camber arm. But I mean, I was already anticipating needing to take out this because I have new sway bar arms too. So you need to remove the sway bar just by these two bolts here. For some reason, mine is a 15. I don't know if yours is a 15 too, but 15, and then this is a 14 nut. You just put the wrench on this and then you loosen this up. go.
There you go.
Not sketchy at all. And spring.
Yep.
This is my suspension. Yeah, you can see it right here. This bolt wants to go out, but it hits the rotor. So. Now we can get to that bolt. So you can see that bolt was just gonna go straight into the rotor, so you just had to take that all out. And then, simple as that. All right, so
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to record a video. If you got the Z1 arms, it comes with some extra Loctite, so it's a good thing to just put a little bit on there. It'll make sure these don't come loose. All right, so we got the 2-arm in. Use the eccentric lockout bolt kit. Oh, it fell. It just goes right in here, and then on both sides. So I'm just over here trying to tighten my camber arm, and this. He's leaving, I guess.
It's not that funny.
Show me. Show me the video.
I lost it.
Dude,
No,
you for sure liked it, right?
Oh, true.
Go to
Oh, I
your
sent it
likes.
like 2 people.
Bro.
It's not that fucking funny. It's not that funny.
Now why you dying?
I don't know, Ivan.
Alright, all the arms are on now. It's really the exact same thing, it's just taking them all off. It's just, you know, that one there. The one thing is, I did have to bend this a little bit. You can kind of see I bent it a little bit. I just grabbed it with this big old pipe wrench and just grabbed it here, leveraged it up out of the way because this bushing is a little bit bigger than the stock arm bushing. If you watch the angle kit install video, you'll know the next step is pretty much the same thing as the other one's, just making sure your alignment is right. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can go off your front alignment if you know your front alignment is good. You can also just measure the distance of the front of the rear tires versus the rear of the rear tires. They're all the same size bolts. I'm pretty sure that some of them are in different spots from the beginning. One thing I did do is relocate the bolt so that it's facing this way instead of facing that way. So if I did need to service this in the future, I wouldn't need to take off the rotor to pull the bolt out because it was hitting the rotor before. Now all that's left is just to torque everything down and adjust my ride height because it was like this before, so I'm just lowering it a little bit more. I forgot to mention too with the coilovers, I made them a little stiffer in the rear. So for the front, I had just went all the way to max and went 7 clicks down. For the rear, I only went like 3 clicks down. So it's at, I think if it's 40 levels of adjustment, it's 37 and then 33. All right, so the torque specs for the strut is 30 up to these 2 nuts right here. And it's gonna be 100 to 120 for these right here. And then for the toe arm, it'll be 60 for here and 80 foot-pounds here. And then for the camber arm, it'll be 80 at the subframe and then 70 at the hub. And then for the traction arm, it'll be 80 and then 95. For this one, you can't really get a torque wrench in there. I just used a wrench and kind of just tightened this as much as I could. And then the bolts for the calipers right here, and then you might not have 2. I have 2 because drift car, hydro, e-brake. It's gonna be 70 foot-pounds. The wheels are on. Definitely looks like there's a little bit of toe in, but really not that bad. Ooh, definitely lower. Actually looks really good. Oh, that was a weird noise. Well, why did that make that noise? Probably lower the front a little bit more also, but the rear definitely looks a little bit lower. I'm gonna test drive this tomorrow. It's like 1:30 in the morning now. 12:30?
118.
1:18. We're at this for like 7 hours.
Around there.
Yeah. All right. We're both tired. I'm going to sleep. I'm gonna figure out the rest in the morning. Now that this thing finally moves, gonna just take it around the lap here and see how the eyeball alignment is, and then probably adjust the fronts a little bit, lower this a little bit more before we send it off to the alignment shop on Tuesday. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this feels because that whole rear is completely redone. Oh, I'm scraping now. That's how low I am. I don't usually. Oh, I'm rubbing. Oh, I hear that. I'm rubbing on the rear left side. I think I'm probably gonna lift that a little bit, but. Oh, that's a really bad rub. I should not be driving this right now. Hold on. I'm gonna inspect this. We're rubbing really bad in here somewhere. That's where it is. All right, this is gotta get lifted a little bit then, because this isn't even my biggest tires. I have some 19s, these are 18s. I have some 19s that I drift on. Gotta clearance this a little bit, but I just gotta cut that out, nothing too bad. This car's already been cut up so much anyway, but fitment check. Real nice and low. All right, normally you could tell where you're rubbing because it's the shiniest spot. So I'm probably gonna have to lift it a little bit, unfortunately, and then just trim out some of this. All right, so I cut out this little chunk right here, a little bit of this fender here, trim down this side a little bit more, and on the other side, this part of the wide body was more in than the other. It was basically like this, and it saw I was rubbing right there. So just decided to get rid of that piece. Really not that noticeable anyway. Now let's finally see how this feels since I'm not rubbing anymore. Not rubbing so far. Actually really didn't do that bad of a job with this alignment. Okay, a little rubbing over some bumps. Oh, okay. Definitely some rubbing still. I think I'm just scraping my car, like my exhaust or something. I'm just low now. I mean, I was decently low before, but okay, that's just rubbing on the front. I know I have that because my Ackerman's pretty far forward, but that's what I'm gonna be changing with my alignment as well. All right, the car feels decent enough in the rear. I'm just gonna now fix my front fitment, get this sorted right, and that'll pretty much be everything. All right, just lowered the fronts a little bit. I almost maxed them out completely to short. Let's see how they look. It's a little lower, but I mean, still like, I'm just fighting the design of this fender. Although the design of this fender is to make more clearance. So I guess it's doing its job. But I lowered it quite a decent amount, like almost all the way to the bottom. And we still have a good amount of room left with this nut for the upper control arm right here. Bumper clearance, kind of wish it was a little bit lower, if anything.
The next day.
I just got the Z back from the alignment shop. I went 0 camber in the rear. I added about 1.5 degrees of camber in the front. I also moved my caster back about 2 degrees because it was too far forward and it was rubbing. I now have full contact patch here with the ground. Although I was rubbing on the way to the shop, so I had them lift it a little bit. I told them 1 inch. I feel like they lifted it a little bit more than 1 inch because I could see the top of my tire now. Before it was like here. 1 inch would have been like to here, but whatever. It's fine. I can lower it more later. As you change your ride height, your camber and toe also changes a little bit. As long as I'm not like too uneven, it doesn't look too bad. But yeah, it feels great. The next mod going on is the sway bars. Just want to feel this out first and see how this feels. So I can really feel the difference for when I put the sway bars in. I'm really excited to feel this on the track. There is a drift day coming up in about 3 weeks. Then I'll really be able to push this thing to the limits because there's not really anything I could do on the street. Real nice now with all that camber in the front, no camber in the rear. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful for you if you're using this as a tutorial to install your rear arms and suspension. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.